Hello, good day everyone. My name is Lovely Meca Inong. I am the first reporter of the group, and our topic is about group influence in chapter 8. And my topic is about what is a group. So today, I'm going to talk about the effects of groups wherein and how they affect our personal behavior. So we're going to talk about, in how are we affected by the presence of others, how we change our behaviors in the presence of others, how our opinions change in the presence of others, same to this nature. Okay? We will examine this intriguing phenomena of group influence one at a time. But first thing first, what is a group and why do group exist? So, answering nga questions kay masabot naman jud nato, no? Not until ang ubang tao kay gikumpara ang lain-lain nga definition nila. So, ang jogging partners ba daw kay matawag ba na siyang group, or ang mga pasahero sa eroplano matawag ba na siyang group, or group nga katong makaila silang lain-lain nga ka-member, or grupo nga masense nila nga belong sila sa usag-usa, or ang group ba daw nga nag-share og common goals and makarelay sa usag-usa, group ba na sila, or ang group ba daw nga ma-form when individuals become organized and their relationship with one another continue over time. So, mo to ang social psychological definition of a group ni McGrath. Group dynamics expert Marvin Shaw ni-argue siya nga tanan daw grupo na ay usa ka tumong. Mao ang members nga mag-interact. Therefore, iyang gi-define ang group as two or more people who interact and who influence one another. Often, they share a collective goal or something in common, not just used through 5 people in your room, but a group is usually has a collective purpose, a bigger goal for them to solve. For example, college students tend to group together with other college students kay ganan sila nga muna maabot na nga goal nga makahuman sila ana nga task. Or ang troublemakers tend to group together with other troublemakers kay kabaw man ta nga mangita man jud na og kanang mabilong gani ka sa grupo. People tend to cluster with people that are similar to themselves. That's just normal. So this is interesting when other people are present. Perceives us rather than them. At a football game, they may perceive themselves as us, fans in contrast with them, the opposing fans. So, dili ra ingon nga matawag ang group nga tayo, kita, kundi matawag sa nang group ang mga fans. Nga matawag nila og sila. Different groups help us meet different human needs, to affiliate, to belong to, and connect with others. Yang ikaduha kay to achieve, mo na ang to gain social identity. Ang sa affiliate di ay mo na atong ibulong ang atong kaugalingon, mo konekta sa uban, mo na sa grupo. I-connect ka para mapil ka sa group. To achieve, mausad na sa group. Dapat kaila dyan mo sa sagusa. Unsa yung task mo yung buhaton. Kaya mo na yung gusto nga achieve sa group. 3 examples of collective influence. Mao to ang social facilitation, social loafing, and the invitation. This will be tackled sa next reporter. Yeah. These 3 phenomena can occur in minimal interaction, minimal group situations. All this topic is gonna be discussed with the next reporter. That's all my report, and thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. I am Rodrigo Angelica Louise, and for today's video, I am going to discuss to you about social facilitation on how are we affected by the presence of others. So what does social facilitation mean? So social facilitation is an improvement in individual performance when working with other people rather than alone. So just like in a classroom settings, we are very conscious if we've done the task or na ay mga activities nga ipabuhat. So if dili ka makabuhat, so ma-conscious ka kay ang uban nakabuhat na and kung makakita ka sa ilahang output kay mura sad kag ma-motivate or somehow kanang mauwaw kay tungod kay murag nindot iyang activity nga gibuhat and naasad na kanang mag-groupings na wherein we are able to function well if we are in a group and the task will be easier for us to be done. So, social facilitation also refers to the finding that people sometimes perform better on tasks when others are around. So, mana to kung giingon nga if na ay mga activities na ipabuhat and makakita ka sa mga output sa imuhang mga classmate kay dira sad ka mag-strive sad ka nga murag mag-effort ka nga mubuhat na imong paninduton and kanang mo pass ka on time. So, social facilitation is an improvement in the performance of tasks in the presence of others by naanana ang audience and the co-actor. So, compared to their performance when alone. So, social facilitation also refers to that finding that people sometimes show an increased level of effort as a result of the real, imagined, or implied presence of others. So the co-action effect in social facilitation. So it refers to your performance being better on a task merely because there are other people doing the same task as you. So this is somehow a positive or negative change in an individual's performance that's sometimes seen when other individuals are present and engage in the same task. So the co-action effect refers to your performance being better on a task that are merely because there are other people doing the same task as you. So an example would be working at an office with coworkers instead of in a solitary environment. So in order for us to further understand what is the co-effect in socialization facility, let us see Norman Triplett's research about it. So in 1897, Triplett studied the effect on performance of having an audience. Triplett's experiment had a simple design of a cyclist's performance when alone was compared with a cyclist's performance when racing against another cyclist. He found that the cyclist was slowest when he was only racing the clock and not another cyclist. He attributed this that results to a competitive instinct which releases energy that was not available when pedaling alone. So the triplet study started off as a revolution of studies attempting to examine the theory that people's performance is influenced by the presence of others. So the experiment was undertaken in this area by Norman Triplett in 1898. And then in his research on the speed records of cyclists, he noticed that the racing against each other rather than against the clock alone increased the cyclist speeds. So he theorized that the faster times were because the presence of others made individuals more competitive. And further research led Triplett to theorize that the presence of others increased individuals' performance in non-competitive situations as well. Another study or another research of Norman Triplett is the competitive nature of children. So in 1898, while studying the nature of children, he found that the children were much faster at completing their given activity, which is the winding stream, while they were competing, which caused him to wonder whether or not simply having another individual there would have the same effect. So there were two conditions in this. So the child alone and the children in pairs, but working alone. So their task was to win in a given amount of fishing line, and Triplet reports that many children work faster in the presence of a partner doing the same task. So meaning, ang, if we are we are paired with another person, so we can do the task easily, yet in a fast manner. Kaya na naman tayo katabang. So, which means that ang ato ang kuan ma-boost ang ma-stimulate and ma-boost ta with the help of our partner. So now let's move on to the audience effect on social facilitation. So audience effect is referred to as a type of social facilitation in which an individual's performance is influenced by the presence of others, which is the audience, which causes an individual's dominant response to occur. So, social facilitation occurs not only in the presence of a co-actor but also in the presence of a passive spectator or in audience. So, this is known as the audience effect. Audience effect is a change in a behavior caused by being observed by another or the belief that one is being observed by another person. So, an effect arises when a person's behavior changes because they believe someone else is watching them. So, kanang if naata sa classroom setting, so kung kanang gipa-recite ta. So, mura sa tag ma-conscious kay gitan-aw ta, what if kung sayop ang atong gi-resign ay gi-recite, what if kanang sayop ang atong gi-answer. So, meaning na so ang audience effect ani kay mo-arise jud siya and maka-strive nato nga to do better or to simply make a change of what we are doing. So, Robert Sanjok um, introduces the activation theory. So, in 1965, Sanjok proposes generalized drive hypothesis for social facilitation as the Stern activation theory, which is also referred to as Sanjok theory. So, Sanjok argued that the presence of others heightens arousal and thus increases an organism's ability to perform habitual or well-learned tasks. On the contrary, heightened awareness acts as a flow when performing complex and familiar tasks. So this theory was based on the Yerkes-Johnson's law, which holds that the performance works like an inverse U function, meaning optimal drive is higher for easy tasks and lower for complex tasks. So Robert Sanjok reconciled apparently conflicting findings by proposing that arousals from others' presence strengthens dominant response. So when we say arousal, it is a psychological and physiological state of being awakened or a sense of organ stimulated to a point of perception. So it involves activation on the ascending reticular activating system in the brain, which mediates wakefulness and the autonomic nervous system. So Sanjok predicted that simple tasks would result in social facilitation within the group settings, whereas more complicated tasks would not. So according to Sanjok, some tasks are easier to learn and perform than others because they require dominant response. So the dominant responses are behavioral responses at the top of an organisms' behavioral repertoire, making them more readily available. So the tasks that elicit dominant responses are typically simpler, less effortful, and easier to perform compared to the tasks elicit non-dominant responses. So the non-dominant responses are harder to carry out. So simple tasks require dominant responses, whereas complex tasks are required none. So why are we aroused in the presence of others? First will be the evaluation of apprehension, the fear of being judged by others, either formally or informally, can increase our arousal. The self-consciousness we feel when being evaluated can interfere even with the behaviors we perform automatically. So, if we are being judged by others kay diha ta ma-conscious. Another is the driven by distraction. When people focus on how others are reacting to them, those thoughts become distracting and can hamper performance on complex tasks in the presence of others. So, kanang makadungog ganita nga murag na mag-make silang sounds after nato bubuhat sa or naata sa front yung makadungog tag murag nag-whispers kanang mga nonsense noises murag mag-overthink ka nga kanang sayop baka ni ako ang gikuan gibuhat or kanang naa ba ko'y kanang dili maayo nga nasulti so mao nang na distracted na ka. So another is the mere presence. Even in situation where there should be no evaluation, apprehension or distraction, social facilitation can still occur. Social facilitation effects have been shown to occur with animals. Just like sa animals, kana bitaw maka-feel silang presence sa lain tao, dali man kay na sila maka-sense. So mauna, ma-distract sila. So ang social facilitation kay dili ra sad sa atong mga tao kundi also sa mga another species and animals. Crowding in the presence of many others. Being in a crowd or in a crowded conditions is similarly arousing and facilitates dominant responses that helps explain the home field advantage in sports. So, pares anang naata sa sports, if naata sa crowd, naa mabus and ma-stimulate ta ana nila kay ma-conscious man ta kung kuan what if maulahi ta, what if di ta ka play so mo nang murag mag-overthink na ka nya mo nang naay somehow nga dili na noon ta ka maka-focus kay tungod mag-una ang atong kakulba and atong consciousness sa unsa may ang ipang react sa mga tao. Nasay uban nga kuan mabus ang ilahang confidence kay tungod i-cheer sila, tungod kay kanang gi-support sila and kanang confident sila enough nga mahuman na sad nila ang game. So that would be all for my report about the social facilitation. I hope you have learned something. Thank you and God bless.
Have you been working in a group of people wherein you feel like you are only the one who does the work? If so, it has to do with my discussion today, which is all about social loofing. So first, what is social loofing? Social loofing, the tendency for people to exert less effort when they pull their efforts toward a common goal than when they are individually accountable. So social loofing occurs when an individual is doing less working in a group as opposed to putting forth full effort if they're working alone. The first example dates back to 1913 when social loofing was first observed in rope pulling experiment or a tag of war game. This experiment was conducted by Max Ringelmann or Maximilian Ringelmann. He was a French professor of agricultural engineering and agronomic engineering who was involved in the scientific testing of development of agricultural machinery. So, He was also one of the first researchers to study the relationship between process loss and group productivity. So one of the example of social loafing, as I mentioned earlier, is the tag of war game or roof pulling. Ringelman asked people to pull on roofs. He asked people to do this both alone in a group. He observed the outputs of the roof pulling based on the various circumstances. During the experiment, Ringelman noticed people enlist individual effort when they pulled as a part of a group. Conversely, per individual, the outputs of the rope pulling were much higher when people pulled their own. This is why social loafing is also sometimes called Ringelmann effect. Another example of social loafing, for us to understand it more, is the group of project and an entertainment or a host asks the audience to clap or to scream. So in a group of homework wherein ang leader ra or usara ang gabuhat sa project niyang uban kay way natabang or wa naglihok. So katong mga wa naglihok or wa nagtabang maoto sila yung mga gitawag nga social loafers. Also kanang ang entertainment or ang host ni ana nga kanang palihog pakpak ni siya, palihog, di ba? Naay jud mga social loafers na dili jud mo pakpak, dili mo join or dili mo mukuan. So, mao to sila yung mga social loafers. Because if you add more people to the group, the total group effort declines. Kay kung daghan mo nga members each group, magkagamay sad ang effort sa usa ka tawo. Kay makahuna man sila nga, ay kam, nagbuhat raman sila, pwede na sa tabang, di mo ambag. So, mauna sila ang mga social loafers. Next is what causes social loafing. First, loss of a sense of individual responsibility. So, like for example, earlier, the tag of war game or the pulling groups, na it showed jud nga ang personal responsibility sa usa ka member or usa ka tao seems to evaporate according to the size of group or members. So mao to if daghan mo, like maka-feel nila ang effort nila dili ra ni gani makita kay daghan mo mag social offers na sila na ano gani. Next is reduce belief in the value of contribution. So if a team member kanang same as I said earlier nga kanang ay daghan man dayta members, daghag kamao, daghag naning or daghag lihok mulihok gani. So dili sa ta mulihok kay especially kanang na group ka sa mga top students or kanang mga naning jud kaayo mo ana na ka nga imong value sa imong contribution gamay ra nga or wala ra para nila kay sila lagi ang kamao. So mas social loafers ka. So there are three ways on how to manage social loafing. First is the collaboration. So each member jud dapat assignan og task, dapat hatagan og unsa ilang buhaton, dili sila kanang ganing walay buhaton ra, moral support ra gani, dili kailangan jud nga naay collaboration. Each team hatagag og kanya-kanyang task and content. So as a team member or kanang as a leader in a group, it is important nga kanang muhatag gani kag task sa imong ka-member. Dapat kung unsay gani bagay sa ila or unsay makaya nila nga skills or unsay perfect nila nga mabagay sa ilang effort or kanang kaya nila. And lastly is the choice. Dapat sad you as a team leader or ikaw as an individual mo pili jud ka nga unsay imong gusto. Kay kung mupili ka sa unsay imong gusto, makabuhat jud kag maay, makatabang ka or na jud kay makontribute sa group or makabuhat ka. So that's all about the social loafing, and this is Yburan.
So, I'm going to tackle my report, which entitled The Individuation. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, Let me start with you a question. When do people lose their sense of self in group? By any chance, before we understand what the individuation is, we need to understand what it isn't. In the simplest form, your identity is what makes you who you are. It includes your self awareness, your thoughts, beliefs, and behavior. Self awareness is being aware of yourself in relation to your standards. It's knowing your character, your morals, and your desires. These are things that make you the person who you are. So, with that being said, you need to be who you are every step of the way. So, in relates to our topic, which is the individuation. So, what should be the individuation means? It is the loosening of normal constraints of behavior when people can't be identified, such as when they are in a crowd, leading to an increase in impulsive and deviant acts. So, um, when we say the individuation, it refers to a people lose their sense of socialized um, individual identity that is resort to unsocialized antisocial behavior. It is a state of decreased self-evaluation in a crowd and is one of the most widely cited effects of social groups. So with that being said, kanang the individuation is there is instances that the behavior change if that person experiencing the individuation. So as what I've mentioned earlier, there is changes of behavior like kanang mag magsumbag-sumbag sa hangin baron or they don't know what to do, di sila mahimutang. So that's the individuation means. So the second one is what what does the individuation leads to? So in public self awareness, it concerned about impression. Uh, it can uh, it can reduce by anonymity or diffusion of responsibility. So when we say anonymity is its state of being anonymous, and then identifying diffusion, it occurs when an individual hasn't committed to an identity and is not working to form one. So kanang when we say diffusion is kanang dili kay siya committed sa ihang gusto. Yeah, that's what the diffusion means. And anonymity in public awareness kay it can reduce kanang a certain person which is become anonymous. And the second one is the private self-awareness. It um it refers to our own thoughts and feelings can be reduced by become involved in an activity. We forget ourself. So um as what the individuation means that the more the person becomes involved in the group, the less self-awareness they have, in which includes knowing their morals, characters, and beliefs, as what I've mentioned um, earlier, that in order to be um, get any unsocialized behaviors, you need to be who you are and every step of the way. And these qualities start to be replaced by the identity of the group, and the individual then begins to take on the morals and character that is held by the group as a whole. Like for example, think think of being surrounded by fans at your favorite team's home game. and everyone's yelling. Some people are thumping their chest, and you're jumping up and down. And most likely of them, you wouldn't exhibit this behavior if you were standing there by yourself. But being a part of the crowd carries you away from your personal identity, and you feel free to do things you normally wouldn't do. So that's the individuation leads to. So next is the individuation in cyberspace. Before blogs and internet chat rooms became popular, angry readers could have written letters to the editor or vented feelings to coworkers at the watercolor. This their discourse would have likely been more civil than that of people who know post comments and blogs, in no small part because people are not anonymous um in this setting. So um that's the time the um that's why the that that's the time the internet has provided new ways in which people can communicate with each other anonymously. So, in relation to the invasion to cyberspace, kay kanang it's another concept gani to steaming from anonymity or pseudonymity on the internet. So, kanang it usually occurs kanang maghimo og other account just to kanang vent their anger, their hatred, that specific, like for example sa politics. So they tend to create an account and just to vent out their hatred so that it could reduce due to a loss of individual identity among to the crowd. And yes, individuals who act to internet in cyberspace may feel hidden. So, as what I've mentioned earlier, anonymity, a state of being anonymous, um, in cyberspace, they tend to kanang create connected online just to be a part of a group done by oneself. In this individuated setting, they tend to be much responsive to situational factors and their own emotions and attitudes as the driving force for behavior, and accordingly may feel more free to act based on negative feelings. So next one is what circumstances elicits these psychological states. Arousing and distracting activities, um, aggressive outbursts by groups often are preceded by minor actions that arouse and divert people attention, like group shouting, chanting, clapping, or dancing serve both to hype people up and to reduce self-conscious. So according to Arrive 1984, there is a self-reinforcing pleasure in acting impulsively while observing others doing likewise. When we see others act as we acting, we think they feel as we do, which reinforces our own feeling. So, with that being said, when when we feel extremely kanang emotional, and some people feel when exaggerated emotions, um, it tend to return to a sense of self-awareness. However, it can also contribute to destructive group of behavior. like kanang political oppression, ka-create siya unhealthy behavior sa ka-community. Mass violence, um, using kanang cyberspace, like the individuation in cyberspace, kanang they tend to create hatred that makes the group um, disruptive, and riots as well, and most likely be when a certain person having a being individuated, it usually creates bullying can all stem from the individuation, so it can create negative impact for those who experience the individuation. So that's all for today. But before that, let me end you this topic saying that it takes courage to walk alone, but solitude can help us grow. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
So, hi, this is Chrislee Mae. Then, this topic will be group polarization, and it do ask about do group intensify. So, later on, we will be able to know nga mo intensify ba siya or dili. So, it is no surprise that the group's attitude and beliefs grow stronger when we talk with the others who share them as well. So, this is a group process psychology know as a group polarization. So, unsa man siya ng group polarization? It is the strengthening of the original group attitude following the discussions of the views within the group. So that is, if a group initially favors a viewpoint after the discussion within the group concessions, it will be likely stronger endorsement sa viewpoint. So it is expected nga if there is opposition to a viewpoint, of course, mulid po siya og stronger opposition. So, and somehow, it also defined as a phenomenon when members of the liberating group move towards or more extreme point in whatever direction is indicated by the members. So, somehow pre-deliberation tendency. So, polarization tends to changing attitudes among the individuals within the group. It can enhance groups' prevailing inclination through discussion within the group. So, nganong mahitabo man ni siya? So, why does it happen? There will be a pair of theories that helps us explain and understand how group polarization works. First, we do have the social comparison theory, and the second one is the informal influences. So first, we will be tackling about the social comparison theory. So it is also known as a normative influence. This theory of a group polarization state that people often change their opinions when a group in order to fit in or to be accepted and to looked upon more favorably. So, for an outsider, new members of the group may promote or more extreme view of a point, topic as well that the rest of the group previously had that push the entire group towards the more extreme viewpoint or the stance that best correlates with the views sa group leader. So, kwan siya, it concerns individual comparings viewpoints with concerns about the group views themselves or influence based on the person's desire to be accepted or admired by the others. So this year, I know you're very familiar, discuss naman siya sa previous reporter sa katugling normity sa persuasion. So first, sa socialization, natin three types ani. First, the upward. So this takes place when we compare ourselves when those who we believe are better than us. This upward comparison often focuses on the desire to improve our current status or ability. So we might compare ourselves to someone better off and look for some ways that we can achieve similar results. Like for example, ganun ka mo do og basket. Nya karon kay you're trying to play it And then in the process naka-realize ka nga unsay capabilities nimo, and then nakailang nga friend nga may jud siya moduha og basket. Nya karon naka-realize ko nga kato siya no may jud kito siya. So you are trying nya mura na ka nga layo ra na ko na niya. So by that time nga ma-discourage ka, which is very normal ra kay inanam jud ta nga kay mga tao beta. Dayon kanang bisag dili mo pare bitaw og kanang capabilities. Mura siya gimo siyang imo motivation bitaw nga basig sa more of practice lang makuha po na ko siyang iyang abilities. So mura siyang upward. So when we talk all about downward, this takes place when we compare ourselves to others who are worse off than us. Such downward comparison are often centered on making ourselves feel better about our abilities or traits, sorry. And then, for example, di ba, na kay friend nga kabalo mo dog basket. Nasa kay friend nga dili ka ba mo dog basket. So, mura siya imong gamiton ng validation nga, ay, katugali akong sa kauban kay, dito ka ba mo basket? So, mura, para na lang ma-validate imong self nga, makaya ni mo. Mura siyang, ay, katugali siya, kay dili siya kamao niya. Mura, ana na lang bitaw. Mura siya ang punto diya sa downward. So, both of the upward and downward, some comparison might make you feel inadequate and less likely to pursue a goal, while others give you the confidence and help boost your self-esteem. So we have the third one, which is the lateral social comparison. So this refers to in comparing yourself to someone you see as an equal to you in a various areas. Most likely this person would be a peer, as we tend to compare ourselves most often with others of the same age, diba? So, mano siya ang social comparative or normative. E diri na ta sa informational influence. So, this concept states that people tend to enter a discussion with favorable information for both sides of the argument and then change their opinions favoring the side which provides more information in its argument. So, this mainly occurs when an individual is unsure about what he or she believes, and the person will tend to follow whichever ideas has the most information supporting. So, kung siya kanimo focus lang na siya sa individual trying to persuade another. Yeah, of course, with the proofs nga makaingon ka nga bitaw no kay nindot ka siya og mga references, so murag makatuo na lang pud kaniya. So, we know often the best result and individuals arrive after comparing opinions. So it helps to get a level of accuracy or correctness with the information on the ground. So it helps us guide our decision making and opinions. So importante ang informational influence kay mulid man gud siya og real sa mga practical and long-lasting changes in beliefs and opinions sa kitang mga tao. So, now na ang questions nga. Do group intensifies? Yes, no? Sa atong attitude. Okay, if you will be joining a group of people with opinions similar to your own, your opinions are likely to be intensified. Mo na ni ang group polarization, ha? It's particularly prevalent when people with similar political opinions come together. So, but it can happen anytime all the members of a group shares a similar attitude towards a subject. So, for example, group polarization happens when you have a group. So you are expected not to have the goal. In order for you to achieve the goal, you must need to discuss things. Then, members should be expected to provide ideas, opinions, thoughts, or viewpoints. Nya karon kay ikaw maula man ka, nya maula ka masura kay basig may nang kag sayo, partaka, or pagiro-giro, mong shy type ta in some ways. Nya imong kauban nga isa ni tingog man, so tas pariha mo og viewpoint bitaw opinion. Nya karon human as we are kanang magduduha na puta kay usaray ni agree mo ra nagngangayo kag advice bitaw sa imong friend nga nangutan na kas usa nga ay una nangutan na ka nga angay na ko sang gisulob yung siya nya karon murag dili man ka okay niya karon ni sugod niya ato na kasi mong friend nga lain angay ko siya dili murag ilisi lang so karon murag na ba kay of course mangutan ta kabalod sa tong tubag pero kanala na to i-validate nangutan na sa kasalain nga angayan ko niingon siya so murag ang punto lang diri ba kay we're trying to have the same opinions. You are gathering them to support sa imong stand para ma-validate ang imo bitang gusto. So more siya validation na jud siya. And also, the best example for group polarization kay ang internet. Di ba? Kay most post, I mean, like sa internet, mo post lang ka sa imong opinions dito niya. Dito na, manggawa sa tanan nga. Mo agree ba sila or mo disagree. So, dali ra ang connectivity within the humanity. So, polarization no kay occurs because we are, I mean, there will be an opinions. So those opinions will be reinforced by others. We are become more certain that our opinions are right and less aware of counter arguments. So naabot na jud ta sa conclusion nga part which is understanding the group polarization and its effects on society has never been more important, especially considering how individuals are finding groups within their communities and online. So the importance of group polarization in social psychology is significant jud siya in contemporary times because it helps explain your group behavior um, in a variety of a real life situation. So some examples of this includes discussion and decision made about the public policy, theorism, college life, and all types of violence. That kanang overall purpose ra jud sa or overall thoughts sa group polarization is kanang giling you are in a group and you are trying to gather some opinions nga you know nga magkaiusa mo. So mo lang dyan natong pirmi hinumduman sa group polarization na nga magka-incline ang atong mga opinions, viewpoints, and thoughts. So mo na siya. So again, this is Chrislee and thank you and I hope nga naklearn mo about si group polarization. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. This is Victoria Flores, the signed reporter of the topic groupthink. So, do groups hinder or assist good decisions? So, we have three objectives for this topic. So we have here the first objective is describe when and why group influences often hinder good decisions, and describe also when groups promote good decisions, and to know how we can lead groups to make optimal decisions. So what is groupthink? So the groupthink is a mode of thinking that the persons engage in when concurrent thinking becomes so dominant in a cohesive in group that it tends to override realistic appraisal of alternative courses of actions. So basically, groupthink is when you are trying to make a decision for a group and you did not critically evaluate what are the consequences that might happen. So that is what we call the groupthink phenomena. So we have here three major fiascos that will support our Irving Janis groupthink. So they think too much conformity would lead to groupthink. So according to Irving Janis, we have here three major fiascos that happened on World War II. So the first one is the Pearl Harbor, the second one is the Bay of Pigs invasion, and the third one is the Vietnam War. So what happened in the Pearl Harbor is that United States weren't able to prepare for the Japanese aircraft carriers that attacked the Pearl Harbor. So at that time, the president or the officer of the naval forces just laughed about the idea that Japanese aircrafts were already attacking, but in fact, Japanese is planning to attack US and the Bay of Pigs invasion. So President Kennedy planned to um, invade the Cuba, which is the neighboring country, but then he weren't able to um, evaluate what could happen. It's because John F. Kennedy was driven with the invulnerability. So it is a big shameful for John F. Kennedy, which is a very wise president, to uh, to fail the plan of invading the Cuba. And for the Vietnam War, so the Vietnam War happened years ago because during the World War II, they thought that a war could save the could promote a peace to the North Vietnam, but they weren't able to evaluate again the consequences. So what happened is that many lives were taken, especially with Vietnamese people, and ships and planes were also destroyed by the war. So that is the three major fiascos happened before. And then to further discuss, I have here um, the meaning of groupthink by Irving Janis. Janis believed that that the soil from which groupthink sprouts includes an amiable and cohesive group, and too much friendship with the groups, too much relationships would create biases. So it's very important to always balance the relationship within the group, and then relative isolation of the group from dissenting viewpoints. So in groupthink, we basically know that groupthink is the decision of the group that is not critically evaluated. So that would mean to say there were viewpoints that being dissented. It's because the leader wants to have the final decision and doesn't want to make any errors or questions in relation to what is the decision. So mauna siya, guys. So if ever inyong member na ay gustong i-suggest sa group, even if dili kay siya helpful, but at least try to listen to your members and then think of what is the best option and the best decision as well. And the third one is directive leader, who signals what decision he or she favors. So ngano mo sprout man diha si groupthink? It's because groupthink ang leader ang magdala sa imong member. So if ang leader is biased, ang iyaha lang tuuan is unsa iyang i-believe, so that would mean to say dili siya effective nga leader. So it's very important to listen very well, to have brainstorming, so that you'll be able to check what are the factors that you need to um, check before trying to make a decision. So we have here the symptoms of groupthink. So, symptoms of groupthink. So, the first one is the illusion of invulnerability. So, when we say illusion of invulnerability, it is when groups members create excessive optimism and encourage taking extreme risk. So, as a person, I think it's not okay that it is very good that you are optimistic, but sometimes we need to balance it. Just like the yin yang, when there is a optimistic nasa usa negative, it's because kung puro lang tang negative, ma-blind na ganita sa unsay mga risk factors nga pwedeng mahitabo if kana nga decision atong himuon. Okay. And the second one is unquestioned belief in groups morality. So sa atong nahindumduman, um what happened to the invasion of base, the pigs invasion? So ato ning duman diha is that the groups or John F. Kennedy, which is a neighboring country to Cuba, instead of they are neighbors, they we expect that they should be helping each other in growing their economy, or maybe help each other. But then we John F. Kennedy forgot to think about the ethical considerations in making a decision. It's because the group members often suffer overconfidence and hold an unquestioned belief in the group's competence and morality. Seg. And the next one, So the next one is rationalization. So ang group members na to dere, mga close-minded na sila. So that would mean to say the groups discount challenges by collectively justifying their decision. So if ang leader and then a leader will spoke to every member, so ang leader iya nang gi-justify nga nung kaniya to pilihan nga action, unsay mahitabo ani, pero iyahara ng personal um view of point. So that would mean to say, right now, ang mga members is they have this idea nga mao day sakto day siya, but we also have a stereotype view of opponent. So the group thinkers consider their enemies too evil to negotiate with or too weak and unintelligent to defend themselves against the planned initiative. So since they think that the plan is very effective, so ilan ang stereotype na kani mao ni ang sakto, feel ko sure jud ko ani kay ako makadaog ani, or either ako jud sakto ani kay sila sayop. So you already stereotype the view of the opponent. So what will happen is that you will what happened to the Pearl Harbor nga na-expect sila dili wala sila nag-expect nga ang Japanese mo attack. So that happens because they stereotype the view of point. And then the next one is conformity for pressure. Since na-convince na most of the members, so naa na gitawag nga mga persons of members nga mo rebuff those who raise doubts about the group's assumptions. So meaning to say, naanay magsigig sulsul sa isa ka member nga kana siya, mauna na siya, ayaw na nagsamuka, and mauna siya dapat kay mao ni ang resulta. So na kay mao man gitiuhan kasagaran sa tanan, which is the conformity na pressure siyang self. So finally the group suffers from pressure towards uniformity. Okay, so the next one is self-censorship. So si self-censorship, naisa ka member atong ibutang, for example, naisa ka member nimo nga she is having doubts about the plans, but yet wa siya action nagibuhat or gi-express. Wala siya nagpakahilom siya. But then because she was experiencing the illusion of anonymity. It's because most of the members of the group falsely perceive that everyone agrees with the group's decision. Kaya nga naman, um, kay nakita man niya nga halos tanan nag-silence, walay ni reklamo, so dili na lang siya mo reklamo, mo agree na lang good siya sa unsay giagreehan sa tanan. Since hilaw man and wala jud ni reklamo, so that would mean to say it's a yes to go for the decision. And then for the last symptoms, which is the mind guards. So, some members will protect the group from information that would call into questions the effectiveness or morality of its decision. So again, from the word itself, mind guards, so gyud isa ka member sa inyong grupo nga if ever mo raise ka sa imuhang questions, sige jud siya bother, sige jud siya panghilabot nimo. So, that would mean to say, naay jud tigpugong so kung unsay imong gustong isulti as a member. Okay, so groupthink is a titanic scale. Despite four messages of possible icebergs ahead, Captain Edward Smith, a directive and respected leader, kept his ship sailing at full speed into the night. So there was an illusion of invulnerability. It's because daghan ituo nga na ship Titanic is impossible kayo nga malunod. So mo na siya ang examples of invulnerability. And there was also a conformity to pressure. Since ang mga crewmates ni believe pod nga grabe ang ato ang ship, dili gyud ni malunod. So na-pressure ang mga crewmates, ilang gibuhat ang ilahang best nga kanang still mo ma-safe ang mga passengers, but then na-failed sila. So there is a conformity to pressure. So And there is also mind guarding the eye because a Titanic telegraph operator failed to pass the last and most complete iceberg warning to Captain Smith. So remember the two people's I don't think that tinood ni siya, but according to the movie, nga na two people from above, instead that they were looking at the last iceberg nga ilang likayan, they were distracted by Jack and Rose because they were very romantic at that time. So they failed to pass because at the time nahadlok to sila nga mo pass simply kay kaya ano sila may pasanginlan if ila tong ikuan, but ila to ipas ni Captain Smith, but alahin na ang tanan, the ship nabuslot na, and that is a very sad movie, one of my favorites good. And next one, so na ko YouTube video, you just need to click this link of dili ka ni ma-play sa inyong end. You just need to click this link. If ever dili po siyang proceed sa link, you can search this on YouTube. So there is the story of the three people who planned to make a business with an used tissues. Okay? So very informative na siya nga video. Please lang kung tanaw. And how to prevent groupthink. So the first one is be impartial. So be impartial means it means that you need to treat everyone fairly. So wala ka gipalabi or wala ka gi-favor nga basta siya na ang mo suggest is para nimo okay kayo. So you need to be fair with every group members, okay? And the second one will be welcome critics. So as a person, dili ta perfect, right? So we need to welcome critics yun, especially kanang manatay himuon nga decision nga dili ra para sa atuang self but for the group. So we should welcome critics and as well as encourage critical evaluation, which is the third one. So kung ato siyang i-encourage na critical evaluation, and then we will work on kung unsay mga gi-evaluate nga pwede nga sayop siya or pwede di natin nagkulang ta diha nga part. So in that way we are aware of unsay mga pwedeng advantages and disadvantages kung ato nang buhaton nga decision. So mao na siya. And then occasionally subdivide the groups kay kani man gud magka-groups man gud ta per me, mas mo atong relationship to each other kay might as well uban magsalig, uban nga kanang dili ginila nga ma-express ang ilahang mga opinions. It's because base hindi sila kauyon sa ilahang leader, and then they want to maganahan sila makighalubilo. So in that way dili ta or we can change our groups. So it's very important nga mag-change the groups para madili na to makuha ng groupthink. It's the more nga balik-balik na lang ang groups, balik-balik ang leader, and then kibaw na taon sa workflow. So makaingon na ta siya, ay siya na sad, ay kuan, ay siya ra man bahala na, okay ra na, siya ra na. Murag ingon ana nga style ba. So it's very important nga mag-divide jud ta sa group. And before implementing a final decision, national gitawag call a second chance. So same sad sa kasal nga setting kanang may pari o niya na mga tao, and then before nga pari nga officially married na gyud sila is the pari is mangutana gyud na sa palibot nga if nabay mo tutol. So that's what we call the second chance. So basically you just need to ask if there's any violations, reactions, suggestions more pa jud. Kay base nata isa ka member dira nga mas brilliant iyang idea, and then mao atong magamit sa ato ang pag-implement of decision. Okay? So mao na siya ang five nga ways to prevent groupthink. So, according sa ni Vincent Brown and Paul Paulus, 2022 nga na sila ways nga again ang groupthink may lisan na to og group brainstorming. So unsa man jud na si group brainstorming. Okay. So first, imo sad i-combine ang group and solitary brainstorming. Okay, so mao jud na siya ang first nga ways imo i-combine ni group. The second one is have group members interact by writing. Okay? So isulat nila dira unsay ilang mga ideas and mo interact sad sila sa ilahang each members of the group. Okay? So next one is incorporate electronic brainstorming. So what incorporate electronic brainstorming basically means that um you need there is a brainstorming nga kanang mag-discuss lang ta by the use of electronic device, and then we are gonna share our ideas in a corporation, and then after that then we will end, or we will have a idea or naano jud tay action plan towards to our goal. Okay, so mo na siya ang three ways to enhance brain storming. And when group members freely combine their creative ideas and varied insights, the frequent result is not group think, but group problem solving. So, nagkuha naman ta ni brainstorming, o yan, ato na siya na-combine, tanan na itong mga ideas, information, using writing, electronic, and by sharing thoughts while discussing the possible ideas. So in that way, dili na group think ato ang mahimo na. The result is group problem solving. Next slide. Okay, so I have here example, but I have a question. So motubo mo na two minds are better than one? Okay, so if motuo mo, then I have here examples nga makaingon nga two minds are better than one. Okay. So number one, the weather forecasting. So two forecasters will come up with a forecast that is more accurate than either would have come up with working alone. So kani magid ang weather forecasting is that lahi tag ma weather forecast. So it will depend. So it's much better nga dili ra ikaw usa ang mag-work on ana. Instead, the two of you will work on, because it's much better to have someone nga imuhang ma-compare ang imuhang work sa iyang work, and then you will come up into a better solution to the weather. Okay? And the next one, it will be Google. So basically, si Google mo na siya ang pinaka-dominant search engine by harnessing what James Soroski calls the wisdom of crowds. So kaning the wisdom of crowds mo na gitawag ni Google. So basically, si Google siya ang isa ka instrument nga ang tao gani, if they want to get an information, like di sila confident sa ilang information nga naa na sila sa ilang mind. So through using Google, they can get more ideas and more possible nga nindot nga outcome if they are going to use Google. So that is why Google is an example of not working alone. Okay? And the third one will be the crowd within. So unsa man na si crowd within? Crowd within is the average of different guesses from the same person tends to surpass the person's individual guesses. So when like for example, when we are going to a survey, if asa mas lami, if si Jollibee ba o si McDo ba, so basically Jolli para na ako sa Jollibee. So kung unsay ka na answer sa crowd within, ilahang gi-answer, di ba? 'Di ba? Like anang mo order gani ka sa Shopee, and then ako, I'm not sure kung ako ra, pero ako as I buyer, nanaos ako sa reviews, tan-aw gyud ako nga if ang reviews is positive with a photo, and then ara na ko motuo nga mo ni gisulti sa kadaghanan, so which means nga nindot ni nga product. So mo na siya use sa nga dakog tabang jud ang dili ra ikaw ang may idea, but the two of you or more than two can have idea on a specific thing, situation or circumstances. And then the third one will be prediction, sorry, kinatabo na sad, prediction market and US. US presidential election since 1988, the final public polls have provided a good gauge to election result. So basically, kanang voting, isa na siya sa mga examples na you are not just the one who will decide what is the best president for you. It's because you will agree to what is unsay giagrihan sa uban. Let's say for example, um karong recent lang nga election in which si Lenny and ang nagkontra si Bongbong. So basically, I'm not in favor with any of the parties. It's just that there are a lot nga ni against nga si Bongbong ni dapat makadaog. So they performed a rally, an event, but basically mas daghan man jud si Bongbong. I don't know pila to yung votes. Basta kay lamangan jud si Bongbong like 15 million. I'm not sure, okay. So dito mag-talk anang politics kay daghan na sad kay mag-away diri. So basically akong gi-try nga masabtan ninyo is that ang dili tanan desisyon magdepende nimo. It needs to be agreed upon with many. Kay kung imuha ra mong good nga favor, matawag na siya bias because imuha ra na siyang own nga decision, imuhang idea. So what sa and in election gani, especially with electing president, it's very important to evaluate unsa ilahang mga nindot nga traits so that you will predict nga kani siya nindot na siya nga good result, okay. And mora na siya combining expert prediction. So same thought, gi-combine ang expertise ang mga prediction. So ana gilatag na ang say mga nindot nga kuan ana, and after that mo ka-result gud na siya og nindot nga administration. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope naara mo'y nakuha bisag nagputol-putol ko. But yes, thank you so much and you have a wonderful day.
Hi everyone, this is Donna Cabrera, and today I'll be reporting about the influence of the minority. How do individuals influence the group? So I have here my PowerPoint with me. So as what you can see on the title, everyone, we will be talking about how an individual can influence a group of people. So all history is a record of the power of minorities and of minorities of one. So we all know that history are the events that had happened in the past, man. So this means that if there is no minority of people, then there will be no changes, because if minority influence did not prevail in the past, then the history would be static, so there will be no changes. The great example that I can provide to you guys with this is the evolutionary history here in the Philippines. So we all know that we've been ruled by the Spaniards for 3 centuries, diba? So after ana guys, if wala pa'y nangustog na group of people like our national heroes, then we will not be able to achieve the freedom that we have today. So the minority influence is very important or very significant in making drastic changes in our lives or in a group's belief or what they're fighting for. So now we'll be talking about the determinants of the minority influence. So we'll be talking about the characteristics of an individual nga makaingon ka nga this person has the minority influence. Okay, so we'll have the first determinant. We have the consistency. So we all know what consistency is. Ang ka constant nimo sa pagbuhat nimo sa usa ka butang. So ingon sila nga unconformity daw to a group is unpleasant. So dili daw siya nindot kay ngano, imagine na ay majority of a group nga nag-believe ana nga usa ka butang, and then imong i-oppose ilang belief kay you have another belief, diba? Na ay tendency nga kontrahan kanila, so you need to be prepared for ridicules. Dili jud na mawala if minority ka. So one key for you to get the minority influence is for you to be consistent with what you believe in. So you need to show them constantly nga mo jud ni ako ang ginatuuhan, bala nag inyo kong kalagutan, this is what I believe in. So I'll be consistent with my thoughts with this. So that's a very big factor in order for you to become a minority influence. So some successful companies have recognized that minority perspectives can feed creativity and innovation. 3M, which has been famed for valuing respect for individual initiative, has welcomed employees spending time on wild ideas. So I remember one time, there was a professor of us who told us nga, you need to listen to everyone in your group. Because naman tayo mga groupmates nga hilom jud kay sanan di ba tagsara kayo muhatag og opinions. So we should not disregard their opinion. They might only be a minority, but there is a chance that their opinion can be the one that could make the activity excellent. So we need to entertain all the opinions of our groupmates. Bisan paglayo ra kay na siya sa inyong gisabutan ninyo, for example 5 mo kabuok sa group, and then 4 of you have thought nga kanang lain ang inyong activity. So for example kanang think mo nga kanang PowerPoint presentation lang mo sa inyong reporting, pero inyong usa ka grupo ni ana nga we need to have this like role played na lang para mas masabtan sa atong mga kauban. So inyo jud siyang i-ridicule nga ha unsa man na nato pagbukat, that's impossible, chuchu mga yung ana, di ba? Pero we do not know what if kana iyahang gihuna-huna very creative, what if that could be the one that could give you a good grade. So that person kanang usa sa inyong grupo, he or she needs to be consistent with the idea kay ngano he or she needs to convince you man, di ba? So that person needs to be consistent in order for them to have the minority influence. So under the consistency, we have the minority slowness effect, guys. So it is a tendency for people with minority views to express them less quickly than the majority. So kay ikaw raman usa or kay gamay raman mo, you have like a difficulty to express your belief man gali. For example, kanang everyone loves milk tea, right? Pero naji uban nga dili jud ganahan og milk tea. So hadlok na sila mo express sa ilahang kanang opinion gali kay ngano mahadlok sila nga kanang i-bash sila or i-ridicule sila nga kauy ni mo ikalami ano milk tea ngano di makaganahan, di ba yung ana. So bisan na unsa nga idea, bisan pagsakto ka, ilagyapon kang i-ridicule because that's not what the majority believes in man. Pero if consistent ka sa imong belief, then there is a possibility that some of the people in the major group would have to rethink their decisions. So that is how important consistency is in minority influences. Okay, so we'll proceed with the next determinant, which is self-confidence. So we all know what self-confidence means, is how you carry yourself towards people. So if you have this as a person, so if you do not believe in something that the majority believes, then if you have the self-confidence, then it'll be easier for you. Nabiyata ikuan minority slowness effect, diba? So there is the minority has like difficulty in expressing themselves, pero if you are a self-confident person, then you won't have a problem with that. So as what we can see here, when a minority consistently doubts the majority members become freer to express their own. So wala ikay mag-una-una ing ana. So for example, di ka ganag milk tea, unya na kay confidence ni post jud ka. nganong ganahan man mo. I respect the decision of everyone that they like milk tea, pero di ko ganahan og milk tea kay makadaot ang buba sa atong tiyan nga na it's artificial sweetener, may sulti ana. So kay ni sulti naman ka, ikaw na may nag-una-una, then part of the majority people will be freer to express themselves. So kay ni sulti naman ka na mo na sa limiga, hala ujud ako di sagay ko ganahan og milk tea, mahadlok na ko mo sulti kay ngano basin nila akong saway yun, di ba? So daghan kaayo ang maabot nga people nga same di ay og mindset sa imuha. So that is what we call self-confidence. So self-confidence, consistency, and persistence convey self-confidence. Furthermore, Nemeth and Joel Wachler reported that any behavior by a minority that conveys self-confidence, for example, taking a head seat at a table, tends to raise self-doubts among the majority. Apparent self-assurance tends to self-doubt among the majority. By being firm and forceful, the minority's apparent self-assurance may prompt the majority to reconsider its position. So, kay confident man ka, diba? So, you are firm with your decision and you are forceful with what you believe in. So, muna siya kanang mo ng mga majority, hala, nasa siya point. So, magduda sila, kanang mag-rethink na sila sa ilahang decisions, diba? So that is how important self-confidence is in presenting your idea and your consistency in terms of beliefs and opinions, because that's how you persuade people. Okay, so now let us proceed with the third determinant of minority influence. So we have the defections. So in research with the University of Pittsburgh students, John Levine found that a minority person who had defected from the majority was even more persuasive than a consistent minority voice. So this means that whenever you are able to convince someone from the majority, that means that they are more persuasive because they actually have already rethinked their decision. So they already had thought about it for a very long time before they had decided to join the minority influence. So that means that they would be creating a snowball effect. So a snowball effect is kana sunod-sunod na siya ba. So if you're able to convince someone from the majority group, then there's a possibility that you're able to convince more of them. And those people that you have convinced are more persuasive than you are, since they're able to realize the lapses between the majority and the minority, and they sided with the minority. So that means that they have a really strong foundation based on their decision. So that is the three determinants of minority influence. We have consistency, we have self-confidence, and then we have defections. Now, is leadership minority influence? So right now, we'll be talking about the different types of leaderships and their qualities, as well as to how they can influence an individual. Okay? So, we have the task leadership. So, these type of leaders are good at organizing work, setting standards, and focusing on goal attainment. So, kani silang mga leaders, I believe, are very objective. They assign their members in a certain task that they need to finish at a certain time in order for them to reach the goal without any problem. And task leaders generally have a directive style, so they're very naslay authority nga kanang vibe gali, like a directed kanila. And one that can work well if the leader is bright enough to give good orders. So this leadership actually works, the directive style, if the leader is very good at giving orders. If maayo siya mo bahin-bahin sa mga activities and maayo siya mo sa deadline, then this could work for that type of person. Being goal-oriented, such leaders also keep the group's attention and effort focused on its mission. So, one advantage being a task leader, mas dali ninyo ma-achieve ninyo ang mission, kaya nga no, focus naman mo sa goal. Bali, you set goals man. So, very time-bound kayo sa tanan kaning task leadership. And then, we'll proceed with the social leadership. We have a leader that is good at building teamwork, mediating conflicts, and being supportive. So, kani siya nga type of leader is more on interaction towards their members. And then social leaders generally have a democratic style, one that delegates authority, welcomes input from members, and as we have seen, helps prevent groupthink. So, let me just rediscuss what groupthink is. So, groupthink prevents the group from making effective decisions. So, a social leader prevents this. Kaya nga no, makikommunicate man siya sa iyahang mga members. Bale, mangutan na siya nga, are you okay with this? How are you with your topic? Are you doing good? Ana, mangutan na sila. They are very good at communication. Bali, they value teamwork more than anything. Kay for them, teamwork is the key into an effective group should. So, studies reveal that many effective leaders of laboratory groups, work teams, and large corporations exhibit the behavior that help make a minority more persuasive. Such leaders engender trust by consistently sticking to their goals, and they often exude a self-confident charisma that kindles the allegiance of their followers. Effective leaders typically have a compelling vision of some desired state of affairs, especially during times of collective stress. So, ang mga group ba ang stress jud ba kay we are following a deadline and we are like following a criteria as well. So, it's gonna be very stressful every time we have a project. They also have an ability to communicate that vision to others in clear and simple language, and enough optimism and faith in their group to inspire others to follow. Socially dominant, influential individuals also seem competent. Okay, so let me check in here once again. Okay, so according sa study daw, kani daw mga effective leaders kaya na-exhibit siya og behaviors katong determinants sa minority influence nato. So they are consistent, and then they exude self-confidence. So kaning duha na ani daw sa mga effective leaders. So muna siya consistent sila sa ilahang pag-lead sa grupo, and they are very confident in how they lead. So, og i-combine nimong kaning task leader og social leader, maka-create kag leader nga atong gitawag og transformational leaders. So, these leaders motivates others to identify with and commit themselves to the group's mission. So, now, suhud na dira ang task leadership. So, that the transformational leader commits him or herself towards the mission of the group. Muna siya. And then, many of the transformational leaders are charismatic, energetic, self-confident, extroverts, and inspire people to share their vision and offer personal attention. So there is communication with the transformational leaders. Ari mo sulod ang social leadership. As what you can see, the transformational leaders have the determinants of the minority influence. So as what you can see here, makita nimo nga transformational leaders dapat confident ka and you have a charisma kay para ma-persuade mo yung mga group mates ba, and you need to be very convincing in order for you to be able to create teamwork. So communication and being focused on the goal is the key for you to be able to become an effective leader. So that is for the transformational leaders. And each of these leaderships, the task leadership, social leadership, and transformational leadership, di man dyan ta makaingon nga na tanang leaders kay transformational leaders, diba? They actually have different influences towards their group. So whatever works best, mo na ilahang mabuhat. So mo na siya. And then here's the very interesting part. I do believe that leaders can also be influenced by their groups. Not only leaders can influence the group itself, kay kita ang leader biyay mo lead, so bali mo hatag jud siya og influence towards the group members, pero naaputaan ni nga ang members maoy maka-influence sa leader. Kay nga no, dili biya every time nga kanang same ang imuhang members, diba? So you encounter different type of people every day sa mga activities nga inyong mabuhat, because our groups are inevitable ba, every activities not just groupings, not only individual activities. So you meet different type of people and you get something from them. So they have different values, they have different beliefs that you can incline towards yourself as a leader. So muna siya not only the leader as a minor influence can a minority influence can influence a group of people or the majority as a group, but the leader can also be influenced by the group itself as to how they believe. So, ano na guna exchange of information in order for you to be effective. So, bisag asam gud ta maka-learn magud ta ana. So, that's all my topic. Just to recap everything, we have talked about how individuals influence their group with its determinants, which is the consistency, self-confidence, let me see what's the last one, defections, and then we had talked about if leadership is a minority influence, and we talked about the task leadership, the social leadership, and the transformational leadership. I hope you learned about my topic, and thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
So, good day. I will be your last reporter for the group. So, to sum up all the reports, we are talking about groups. So, is it groups bad for you or is it good for you? So, today I will be discussing the bad side and the good side of being in a group. So, when people get together in a group, usually things can happen both bad or good. So groups create important social institutions that an individual could not achieve alone. But there is a darker side to such alliances. So first, we must admit, on balance, groups are bad. So in a group, we become more aroused, more tense, more stressed, more error prone on complex tasks. So for example, you are or nabilong ka sa isa ka group sa school which is mga academic people. So usually kusog sila magtuon nga nanahanog mga oral recitations, maningkamot layo pagkikasta na ng deadline kay nanay mga assignment. So ikaw na kanang chill lang na person sa eskwelahan is mas stress ka kay, especially kanang when it comes to kanang mo-ask kanila if na ba sila yung mga assignment, naa na sila tanan, and then ikaw wala pa. So it can cause you stress, siya matense ka kay basta yung dili ka katubag yung mga friends kay of course sure ka na makatubag sila kay kusog man sila magtuon nga na. So it is considered a bad thing for you kay it can cause you stress and not tense. Next is police abuse, lynching, gang violence, and terrorism are all group phenomena. So an example of this is kanang gubat sa Mindanao, di ba? Like terrorism is one of kanang makasay jud ta na being in a group is a bad thing because of course it causes destruction sa peace sa Mindanao, and then daghan kay nanog mga innocent na nadamay. It's because they have their own belief or their stand na against the government, which is a bad thing because they are causing chaos in that certain place. So next is we have a tendency to fall or allow the individualization to unleash our darkest thoughts and actions when we are engaged in a group that provides us anonymity. So anonymity means anonymous, right? So the individualization concept in social psychology that generally thought of as the loss of self or awareness in a group. So for example, ani mabilong ka og group na mga sporty. So in times na mag-intramurals or kanang mag sports day nga na, of course it can provide you anonymity or can provide you negative thoughts because all of your friends are in the field joining sports, and then ikaw kay dili man ka or wala kay naibaw-an na sports, so nara ka sa kilid, and then of course it can give you negative thoughts because malain ka, kanang mag-uol ka kay wala kay napilan, so additionally it might create disagreement leading to ununiform group thinking that leads to terrible bad choices. So I guess understandable na jud kayo siya, especially we are students basta sa eskwelahan gani na ajoy kanang mabilong ka sa isa ka group na mga tao ba na kanang di magpalupig sa ilahang mga ideas, so man magaway-away na lang kay lagi ganahan siya na kaniyang buhaton, and then nasa isa ganahan sa siya ani, and then dili mo palupig, so it can cause disagreement or misunderstandings sa kanang isa ka group. So it can consider a bad thing sad if naa ka or nabilong ka sa group. So the other half is that human as we are social creatures that wants to live in groups. So we rely on one another for sustenance, support, security, much like our Asian ancestors did. So being in a group as part of our nature, so human nature na na siya na we are belong sa isa ka group, like for example family, mga friends, if student ka, and then sa school, if natabaho ka kay kanang sa work, imuhang mga workmates, so groups na tawag na, so muna siya. So in groups, runners run faster, audience laugh louder, and givers become more generous. So when we talk about performances, mostly jud na makita na to is group of people ang perform. Pero naman sa mga kanang mga individual na mag-perform, but di ba makabantay mo na if daghan gani mag-perform kanang mga sayaw-sayaw nga na kay mas siya, mas alive ang stage, balik mas siya, mas nice siya sa tan-awon kay there are set of different people in the stage, and then mas siya kanang mas active siya tan-awon. It's because daghan ba ang mga tao, so it can create teamwork and na. So that is the good side of the group. In kindred spirited groups, people expand their spiritual consciousness, like groups sa simbahan or kanang mga Bible study na. So diba kita mostly sa ato ang behavior is social influence by others, and then if we are in a groups that is healthy for us or kanang good for us, like kanang mga Bible study, nga na mga choir, church groups, kay mo push through ba na siya to get close to Lord or to get close to your family. So that is one of the things na we can consider being in a group is a good thing. So to close the topic, a group can be good or bad for you depending on the tendency it displays. We should therefore choose our groupings carefully and mindfully, because in the end, we cannot say na ang groups is totally bad, or we cannot say that groups is totally good for us, because it depends on the situation and the choices you make for yourself. So that's it for our group. Thank you very much.